right, so to name acids, what we're going to start with, the formulas for acids are going to start with the H. And so when you go and have to take a quiz over naming acids, this is on a test, or we start going into reactions. When you see something that starts with H, it's an acid most of the time. And water is technically an acid and a base, and that's a whole party and story all in itself. But when for our intents and purposes, if you see something that starts with H, then a little red flag should kind of pop up in your head. You say, oh, we're doing acids right now. So there are some that are organic acids. This little guy right here should stick out in your head as acetate. Right? If you count those up, that's what you're getting. This is, I could draw this. It's a really big, pretty molecule, and this is just vinegar. This is what pickles are floating in. Don't be scared. But with organic acids, the H will be at the end. For this class, honestly, if I wanted to do acetic acid, I'll just be like that. And nobody did it in here, but some people in first period, when they wrote their formulas, they left the pluses and minus signs. And I think I had mentioned that, but this is acetic acid, just like that's acetic acid. But if you ever see something with the H at the end, it's just the same. Don't let that bog you down. Anyway, there are two kinds of acids that we're going to look at. Those that contain oxygen, so those are your ternary acids that we had just talked about. Those with the polyatomic ions that contain oxygen, and then those that don't contain oxygen. And those are really more like your binary acids, like your HF, HCl, H2S, where it's just H and something else. So most of the time, those are just going to be H and another element. And then there's one exception, and the exception is cyanide. So if H is ever with cyanide, like that, you name it in the same way like you were going to name H and F. So like you would say hydrofluoric acid, this is hydrocyanic acid. And the reason this is special, this polyatomic ion is special, because it doesn't have any oxygen. That's why it's the only one that's not treated like turning it into us at the end or ick at the end. It's a little bit different. So that's just one little exception. You're going to get to practice this, so don't freak out. I think it's just the next slide where they start talking about, yeah. All right, here you go. I'm going to tell you how I do this, and you can, it seems like most of y'all figured it out, which is great. But as well as I do, next week might not be as fresh in your mind, and so having like something to think about can kind of trigger your memory sometimes. So here's how to name acids. So sometimes you'll have a H plus a polyatomic ion that ends in 8. So you'll have something like H2SO4. Right? That's sulfate, you feel me? So if you ate an acid, I guess I should write that better. If you ate an acid, it would be icky. And so you're going to drop that 8 and make it ick and then add acid. So this is sulfate. If you ate an acid, it would be icky. So this becomes sulfuric acid. So if you got hydrogen and you see hydrogen bonded with a polyatomic ion that ends in 8, you drop the 8, make ick. If you ate acid, it would be icky. That's pretty straightforward, right? Sometimes you'll have hydrogen and a polyatomic ion that ends in hot. Have y'all heard like this? So H2SO3. Notice that I am having to balance my charges here. H is 1 plus always, and the sulfate and the sulfide are 2 minus, so I need 2 plus signs. So this is something that you're going to have to take a look at. You should never, if you think about it, you'll never have to have 2 or 3 or 4 of these, because this is 1 plus, and so this one's always going to be the one that gets multiplied by. You'll see that as you practice. But anyway, have y'all heard of senioritis? Yeah. I actually asked somebody this morning, I was like, have you heard of senioritis? And they were like, something you get when you get old? No. So anyway, senioritis. So senioritis. And so what you're gonna do is you're going to drop the "ite." Oops, kind of went too far on that. You're gonna drop the "ite" and you're gonna make it "us." So you're gonna say sulfurous acid. If you ate acid, it would be icky. Ate to "ite." Ate to "ick." Excuse me. If you have senioritis, you take "ite" to "us." How does it make you feel? Good. Okay, great. Next, the third kind is binary acids, and so this were like the most simple kind of acid, like the hardest ones to name. So if I had something like H2S, right? So this is binary, and so you have hydrogen plus an ion, and I should say an anion, with no oxygen. Typically, it's going to be hydrogen and one other thing. This is your binary acid. So you have binary acid. Bi means two, right? Means two. So you have to do two things. You have to go hydro and "ick." Now this is kind of, I'm a little crazy. Have y'all ever heard of the fancy name for the water cycle? Is it hydro? Yeah, it's hydrologic. And so if you had a log and you took it away, this is a fancy name for the water cycle. If you had a log and you took it away, you would still have the root, right? And so the root word goes right here. So hydrosulfuric acid.
That's great.
You left it out.
Huh? I left a what? I was feeling real good about myself. Should I try again?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Explain it.
Oh, really? Okay. Alright, I'm sorry. The fancy word for the water cycle is hydrologic. And so if you take a log away, like a tree, you take a log away, then you still have the root. And so the root word for your anion, whether it's fluor or chlor or sulfur or iode, in this case sulfuric acid. And so you have to do two things. You have to add hydro and you have to add "ick."
Hannah Stallcup, please come to the front office. Hannah Stallcup to the front office.
So on binary acids, you have to do two things. Binary means two. You're going to have usually just hydrogen and one other thing, but you have to add hydro and "ick." And the log part, like I'm just crazy. So, but you have to add hydro and "ick." Are y'all okay on that one? Hydro to the front, "ick" on the back. No need to know the word for water cycle unless it's something you already knew. And then, of course, on all of them, you have to add the word acid. Anyway, what I'm going to do with my special pen here is I want you to turn your paper over, and I'm going to white out the answers. And I want you guys to, don't look, I want you guys to take your whiteboards, and I want you to make a chart and give me the polyatomic ion and give me the acid's name. So the first, turn your paper over, don't be that kid. It all comes out in the wash, right? If you don't do your homework or you don't try in class, like, that's cute for a minute, but then it kind of comes to show itself later. So try your best. Anyway, here's, you're giving me the polyatomic ion and then the name of the acid. So here's your formulas. Give me the polyatomic ion and then the name of the acid. Yeah, I would work together. That's the whole point. I mean, unless you just really don't want to work with somebody.
Yes.
You learn more by talking to people than working by yourself. Just saying. somebody at this front table?
No.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he's at
Yeah, I remember now.
Did you say he had to use car insurance? Yeah, he's at Allstate.
Oh. That took me a second.
Wait, I totally missed
Honey
this
jokes
one.
are the funniest.
This is like,
I'm a little slow.
it's just sulfurose.
What was that you just said?
Sulfurose.
Got it. That sounds really fancy.
That is so weird.
What?
He said I've
We have-
perfected the background noise makes sense.
Wow.
Do you need to check?
Sure. You can check. Well, you can check.
No, you're at that point. I
wouldn't file for something like that. And that's so good, just on sulfur. The other one's kind of, you shorten the word sulfur. But I wouldn't file for that. That's
Yeah.
honestly
The answers are
right
on
here.
paper.
On the other ones, they kind of shorten the word, but sulfur, I guess, is already.
Yeah, good job on that stuff.
I think you're good, yes.
Oh, yeah, because they're bigger in those.
So that is C minus, but then yes, sulfuric.
Those,
So I need to name the, I don't even name the pipe account, I need to name that.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm erasing them.
Several people still working, so, at your own pace, if I haven't checked already, you can certainly check yourself on your own paper, but I am coming around. So we only use hydro when it's just H and one other thing. Almost oxy acid.
So one is not honey.
No, hydrochloric acid for HCl. When it's a binary acid like HCl, you gotta do two things. So really, the bigger the name and crazier it looks, like the shorter it is when you go to the words.
acetate, why is there H?
Because I was telling you that that is an organic acid. So you can, that's, if I gave it to you first, I would give you the H in the front. But that's just how you're supposed to do it. But it's not a big deal. I just step on this one. Just make sure what that is.
Sometimes I forget. Yeah, that's
It's, yes, so perchlorate, M-U-A-N after the E, so it would just be perchlorate, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so those are real easy. You only have to use hydro and it when it's a binary.
Oh, she already changed. Where's the third one?
I put it in the recycle bin. It was about Antarctica, that's pretty funny. Here, it's not ready. On the polyatomic ion is acetate. C2H3O2. That one's not so carbonate, it's AF, it's gonna be CO3 2 minus. So carbonic acid would be H2CO3.
Okay.
If you didn't finish your POGL while we're waiting, you can certainly be working on that. Yes, ma'am. I think you got it. Yep. And then right here, this is sulfate. If you ate it acid, it would be icky, so that's sulfuric. Yeah, and now if this would have been said,
Actually,
this had said SO3 minus, then we would be right, because of itis, right? Okay, as we kind of transition, I'll let you check your work. Notice anything that ended in "ate" becomes "ick," and things that ended in "ite" become "us." If you ate an acid, it would be icky. Senior I, us. And I was telling some of the ladies up front, the longer, uglier the acid is, the shorter, easier it is to name. So it's the binary acids that involve having to do two things to it. So these are pretty straightforward. All right, so I just told you guys this. If you have non-oxygen containing acids, and so that's basically everything for the periodic table that ends in "ide" and then cyanide, you're just going to add the hydro and then it, right? So hydrochloric, hydrofluoric, hydrocyanic. So this is where it's just HF, HCl, HI. So let's go ahead and give these a whirl. Don't look. Avert your eyes, avert your eyes. I think that's the highlighter. Oops. So turn your paper over. I need the ion's name and the acid's name. I'm doing a pretty terrible job plotting that out. Let me give y'all that last one. I know I did that. My bad. Let me just hide the whole screen. Good luck. There. That looks good. So here's your three acids. Give me the ion's name and the acid's name, please.
Yeah. We're all friends here.
Yeah. Now you can do your own. Oh, there's never mind. Just right here. Just like you can do those on your phone. Looks like you're ready to wrap it up. Be careful. It's hydro. Hypo goes with polygons. Hydro, like hydrologic, right?
This would be
I think I checked everybody, so just let's all. We have one more list to do, so hydrocyanic. So, like I said, cyanide is the only anion that we're going to be using that in this class anyway. So go ahead on your boards and do these for me. I want you to give me the formulas. You have to make sure your charge is balanced. You can't just throw down an H and then your anion and call it a day. H is 1 plus, and then you know the other charges. So you may have to draw yourself a little chart. You're writing out the formula.
Oh, we have to. This for HF. It's okay. I did the same thing for that one. I was like,
Yes, ma'am.
For the hydrofluoric acid.
So because because if it's binary, it's got two things. So you have to do two things to hydro in. So those real long ones with hydro from it, these are gonna be the real short formulas. So you gotta write them. And then carbonate. What's the charge of carbonate going to be? Yeah. So is it okay to have one H? See, y'all are doing fine, but like you have to also think that on 4, like H and B, that this is one plus an S. So you have to do like line and charges. So this is carbonate. Yes. Make it charge. H is 1 plus and P is 3 minus.
Fluoride only has one oxygen.
Right. So now.
do I need to write that one?
Does that answer your questions? And of course we can check.
Literally, I'm pretty sure all these are over here, except there was
Yeah, so hypochlorite, so hypochlorite is like that. HCl. Check Now these got about 3 And then
Wait.
the next one, hydrochloric, when it's
couldn't it be
hydro and N,
both?
binary acids, or you have
It could be BrO3 or 4.
No, 4 is purple.
So it would say something.
Does that make sense?
Okay, so it would say.
3 is just regular. 2 is.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
1 is hypochlorite.
You're right, because yeah, it does that with the chloride.
I really like
Isn't that fun? That's why I gave y'all that water cycle thing. Alright, I tried to check as many people as I can. I think I got around to most people. Let me get everybody's attention. Hello. Most common error on acids is that people will write down H and they'll even write down the correct polyatomic ion and everything, but they don't balance their charges out. Please make sure that you understand that phosphate is 3 minus, so I need 3 H's. Here, same thing with phosphide. Here, same thing with carbonate. Hypo and hydro, people get those mixed up. Hydrochloric acid is made out of hypochlorous acid is made out of hypochlorite. To us. So here's the answers. Check your stuff. And so what you need to do when you come in tomorrow, let me make myself like real clear. You need to have your POGL finished. I will go over the POGL and make sure you have it right, but you need to have done it all and tried it all, okay? Then you need to do the practice. I gave you the answers to the practice. Check your work, please. So anyway, the practice is just right after this on the next page.